You know, not too long ago, I did a webinar on leading through the churn. You know, and I qualified the churn as that negative social energy, that tension that exists between you and the goals that you're trying to achieve in your arena. And that churn has gotten worse and worse over time. And the three primary components that I believe make up the churn are distraction, disengagement, and distrust. And they've gotten worse and worse and worse over the years. Today I want to talk about distraction, and more importantly, I want to talk about how distraction shows up in your life as a leader and what you can do to overcome it. And I want to do it pretty fast. Understand that distraction is just part of life. As humans, we're easily distracted. But because we live in such an information age, distraction has gotten more and more prolific in our life. In fact, Microsoft has a controversial study that says the average attention span for an adult human in modern times is 8 seconds. They've even gone on to say in certain studies that that's 1 second less than a goldfish. Now, whether or not that's true, 8 seconds of an attention span is horrifically short. And the way that I see that show up in so many different venues, but perhaps for the folks watching this, I'll see leaders get in front of their people and under the table phones are coming out. You know, I'll see people on Zoom calls trying to sell a product and the person on the other end is checking their email. There are so many distractions, but probably the most concerning distraction I see is the way that people are losing sight on what really matters in their life, and they're getting caught up in the churn because someone distracted them and brought them into their agenda. And that's what really worries me in the context of this churn that we face today, because the fact of the matter is, as Albert Einstein says, humans are mostly energy, right? And Professor James Clausen of Darden University says leadership is the management of energy, ours and the people that we serve. So if those things are true, and I think they are, then the primary way that we manage our energy is to be goal-oriented, to be purpose-driven and goal-oriented. And at Rooftop, our primary goals at a high level are to create a bridging trust society where there is a sense of abundance and where there is a sense of individual freedom to do what you were put on this earth to do. Now, I bet you as you're watching this, that probably is something that sits pretty well with you, and certainly something that is worth leaving to our children, to our youth, right? A sense of abundance, a sense of individual freedom. Regardless of where you sit on the political spectrum, I think that's something we can agree to. But how often now are we getting knocked off our game and distracted away from that? Right? It has gotten really bad. How many distractions are in your day as you go through your day? Right? You're going through Facebook, you meant to do something in there, and the next thing you know, you're 40 paragraphs deep in a kitten in a dryer, or why isn't this person wearing a mask, or the latest COVID meme, right? It has completely thrown you off your game, you know? And that's what it's just one component of the churn, but it's getting worse and worse and worse. And now that we're all in this social distancing, man, everybody's on their phones even more. People are more connected to the 24-hour news cycle, right? So the distractions are escalating and escalating, and it's throwing us into a sympathetic state where we are at this heightened state of fight, flight, or freeze all the time, because people keep distracting us, right? And those deeper goals of abundance, of bridging trust, of individual freedoms, they're just going to the wayside because of those distractions. So there's three things that I would share with you that I would ask you to do coming out of this webinar that we did and in your own life as you think about creating a world that's better for our kids, that's a better business for what you're trying to do for your clients, and serves your people more in this time of crisis that we're in. Number one is commit to being focused, right? We have to commit to being mindful. We have to commit to being present. We have to commit to being available to the people in our lives. That includes our kids, right? All this homeschooling, we're making ourselves less available to our children because we're around them more. That's just as an example. So we have to commit to being focused and really work at that, because that's the management of energy, and there's an expenditure there. But that starts with our mindset. Commit to being more focused. The second thing is to be intentional with the tools that we have at our disposal, like this thing right here. Let's start being more intentional with how we use this. Typically now when I get on this, it's to do a post for one of my inner circle groups or my rooftop community, right? I'm not gonna just get on here and surf, right? Or see what the latest argument is over the masks. That's a distraction. Same way with 24-hour news cycle, right? Which is my third one, which is try to avoid the triggers that you know distract you, right? You know if you flick on Fox or CNN News that you're gonna get triggered. You know that if you go into Facebook and start scrolling around in there, you're gonna find something that's gonna elevate you to a sympathetic state. If you know what those triggers are, avoid them, because we need you in the game. We need you focused. It's not the big sexy stuff that will make you focused. It's the little work that you do. And at the end of the day, if none of that works, just get away from all of the digital contraptions and get outside for a few minutes. Do some lower body breaths, just notice your breath, and you'll drop right into your body. That's what the people who follow you need. That's what they deserve, right? So don't forget to subscribe, like, follow, and share. My buddy Chris Vetzel, we're gonna start bringing him in here to give the instructions because he watches so much YouTube, but I'll give that a run for right now. Become part of our community. We need you doing what you do. Thanks for what you do. I'll see you on the rooftop.